I'm quite a fan of Bomberman and his assorted games. Have been since I was little. There's a distinct lack of Bomberman content on this channel though, given that I remember having played and enjoyed Bomberman 94, Bomberman Generation, Bomberman Jetters, Pocket Bomberman, Bomberman and Max 2, Bomberman Tournament, Bomberman Land Touch, Bomberman Fantasy Race, Bomberman 64, Bomberman Hero, Bomberman Legacy, and Super Bomberman R. While most individuals seem primarily interested in the White Bomber for his hectic, fast-paced multiplayer content, I've more thoroughly enjoyed the single-player campaigns his titles offer. There's just something unique about the gameplay that, while lending itself well to party gaming, has the opportunity for inventive level design and brain-busting action puzzling when going solo. To me, it's a suitably addictive marriage of puzzle and action sensibilities that scratches a similar itch to beat-em-ups. The real-time strategic balance of reaction and aggression is what I'm after. The rules are simple, but there's a lot of depth. Lay bombs to kill the enemies, don't accidentally bomb yourself, collect power-ups to soup up your bombs. It provides several layers of interesting analytical approach, encouraging the player to swiftly read the playing field to identify safe zones, enemies, and their potential behaviors, as well as power-ups of interest and many other variables, depending on which game in the series you've chosen to enjoy. There's so much one can do with these base mechanics to create engaging, high-stakes action. But we're not here to talk about Bomberman himself this time around. We're here to talk about these Bomberman clones, how they differ from the official series, and just what they're about in general. Why? Because I wanna. Let's get started. We're starting strong with Bombing Busters, which is for sure one of the better Bomberman clones I've played. To start with, it's got all the basics. You blow up blocks to get power-ups, you destroy all the enemies, the stage ends. You get one hit, and if you bomb yourself or an enemy touches you, you go down. However, there are some key differences from Bomberman, namely in the difficulty. In Bombing Busters, the enemies hide from your explosions, with near perfection. They're able to update their little AI brains instantly with the new range of your bomb's radius, how many of them you have, and where you're standing. They're relentless, and they also have the capacity to swallow any power-ups lying around before you get to them. In regular Bomberman games, the enemies tend to behave a bit more simply to make them easier to destroy, even if they all still have their own patterns. But honestly, I think these changes are for the better. As much as I love Bomberman, the situations where you genuinely need to trap the enemies are rare. In Bombing Busters, though, it's expected of you, and trapping them gets increasingly difficult as the game introduces more and more environmental hazards, such as pits that block off sections of the map, limiting your traversal options, wind which knocks your bombs down several rows, teleporters. It gets to be a lot. Most of these environmental gimmicks do appear in Bomberman also, but they hit much harder in Bombing Busters thanks to the tougher AI. It may not surprise you to hear that the most common complaint regarding this game is that, well, it's just too hard. It's tough as nails, that's for sure, and it does not mess around, but it's also never unfair. Your victory comes down to how well you understand the mechanics, their nuances, and the rules of the world, so to speak. It's clearly a game made for veterans of Bomberman, who are looking to be seriously challenged. And I kinda miss when games were actually challenging like this, you know? I strongly recommend the game if you're a longtime fan of the official series, and you're looking for something that might put up a serious fight. Bomb Royale is a less than stellar Bomberman clone that takes a deathmatch approach to the gameplay. Now, to be fair, the twist on its own isn't a bad thing. There's a certain appeal to a Bomberman game where the goal is not simply survival, but obtaining the most kills before anyone else gets the chance, and rushing around the field to reach your targets before the other players, or bots in this case, is its own brand of tension and excitement. It's enough of a novelty to be worth exploring, since no other Bomberman game has a campaign with objectives like this, to my knowledge. Unfortunately, Bomb Royale never left early access, and it shows. Only 2 of the proposed 20 stages are playable, first of all, and if we're being frank, the stages and objectives don't even seem like they'd require much effort. It seems clear the idea was just to increase the number of kills required per stage, or mess with the amount of bots or time limit. The fact that they couldn't even do 20 variations of that before giving up says a lot. It's also impossible to host an online game anymore, even if you just wanted to play with bots on one of the other map types. Bomb Royale wasn't a bad idea, and I actually really like its Atomic Bomberman style aesthetic, but it plain isn't finished, and it looks like it never will be. I also have reason to believe it's using some kind of template based on similar games I've seen around. Next up is Bomber Friends, and oh, that's a black screen. Let's wait a bit and see if it decides to start. Super Bomber Habbit is a rather short and sweet Bomberman clone that brings a chunky art style and varied level objectives to the table. The gameplay is much more simple than most Bomberman titles, and there's less emphasis on powering yourself up, but Super Bomber Habbit more than makes up for it with its unique stage gimmicks. More than just detonating enemies, you'll be tasked with finding hidden carrots, or flipping colored panels, or frantically searching for the exit while a big bomb timer ticks down. There are even considerably clever boss battles to contend with. Considering how short the title is, it's going to such lengths to add variety, and that certainly elevates it above and beyond knockoff status. There isn't too much in the way of strategic depth, but that's because Super Bomber Habbit understood it couldn't compete in that arena, and simply chose another. It's fun, it's cute, it's free, and I recommend it. Here we have Blast Zone Tournament. This is a game heavily inspired by Bomberman, as with all the others so far. I played it some years ago, and it normally doesn't take this long to load. I mean, I have some idea of why this might be, but I'm really hoping it's not the case. So, as it turns out, Blast Zone Tournament was an online-only game. This is infuriating because Brawl, while having a rather non-indicative name, is a wholly impressive and strikingly haunting Bomberman clone, with compelling story modes built around exploring each character's unique special abilities. Much like Bombing Busters, it's no pushover, with even the easy mode AI dodging explosions with ruthless consistency. That said, Brawl also provides clear indicators for your bomb's explosive radius, making it far more easy to lay traps, enact long-term strategies, and cower away from the inevitable firestorms. Each available character and their playstyle is wholly distinctive, with special moves that play into their twisted personalities. The wheelchair-ridden Crash Dummies moves are all built around staggering bomb timers. The Puppet Mistress's repertoire is built around her intoxicating siren call, and so on. These moves, each of them on a cooldown timer, function in harmony with the blast radius indicators to allow for more player agency and entirely distinctive, varied approaches to victory. It's not only a legitimate adaptation of Bomberman's formula, but I would argue it's even an evolution. Critical reception has been largely mixed, but honestly, it's hard to see why, aside from the high difficulty. Though, to be fair, Bombing Busters was received similarly for the same reason. If you're not afraid of a genuine challenge, you enjoy the gothic atmosphere, and you love Bomberman, I recommend giving Brawl a spin. Most other Bomberman clones I've been able to find focus exclusively on the multiplayer aspect. Oh, it's Wednesday. It's time for the tornado siren. Alright everybody, get ready for the tornado Wednesday tornado siren.
It's our weekly tornado.
Most other Bomberman clones I've been able to find focus exclusively on the multiplayer aspect. Bombot's Arena, Splody, Bomb Tag, you name it. Though I do appreciate Bomber X having a list of important points that includes offline mode. You're right, Bomber X, that is an important point, and I'm grateful you thought to include it, unlike some of your comrades. Suffice to say, I'm not entirely pleased with my delve into this bombing subgenre, for a few reasons. The good, or even great games that I found were plagued by low review scores for lackluster reasons, let's say, and in general, fans and developers alike of the Bomberman gameplay style tended to over-focus on the multiplayer component. Then there are the, online-only frustrations. But hey, I got a few games I genuinely enjoy out of the experience, and I'm glad for that. Hey, you made it! We're at the end of the video! Now it's time to talk about my Patreon. Did you know that if you grab certain tiers from it, you can directly influence the content I make? It's true! You can also just offer general support, too. And speaking of that support, some lovely people have already pledged. People I will list for you now. My wonderful supporters are Ipompus, Anonymous, Jay, Marth Sinclair, Call Me Haley, Sam Anderson, Some Call Me Anto, Waposa, Mint Horse, Mike Hansen, and Kay Storkson. Thank you all so much for your time and thoughts, and I'll talk to you in the next video.